Hello everyone, welcome to Gary Mac Studio. This little painting, it's a 14 by 11 stretch, and this tutorial is it's all about glazing. These are acrylics, and acrylics are a big part of acrylics is glazing. And I want to show a few techniques on putting glaze on a canvas. And this picture is of a photograph that I'd taken years ago when the wife and I we traveled through Wyoming and Montana and all up and through there in Washington and Oregon, and we were driving along right north of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, at the Grand Teton National Park, and we were driving down the road, and I saw this view of this lake, and I just pulled over and I took a few photographs of this. It was just beautiful. It was a gray day. It was cool, and the best I remember, this lake was called Jenny Lake, but I'm not positive. But I think that was the name of it. I'd have to look it up, but I believe it was Jenny Lake. And we just stopped there for a little while and we just enjoyed this and just soaked up the beauty of the scenery. Grand Teton National Park it's such a beautiful place. Those mountains are really jagged. They're craggy at the top, and from what we read of them, those mountains are young and they're still growing, and that's the reason that they are so jagged and sharp around the peaks. And they're just beautiful mountains, and But the purpose of this tutorial is to show how in acrylics, how to get this depth in your painting. So what I'm doing here is just getting a composition in and getting some paint on and beginning to distinguish what's up close and what's far behind. And as you watch, you'll see how I get this depth using glazing to over these mountains to get that depth in the painting. And that is so critical in a painting, is to get that in a landscape, is to get that atmosphere. And you'll see here in just a few minutes, this tutorial is about 20 minutes long, and if you'll just watch through this, you'll see how I'll get this depth in there, and if you'll watch, you'll get the darker colors up closer to the front, and then your lighter colors to the back. But what you see right now, they're all pretty much the same color. And with this glazing that I'll be doing later, it's going to really push those back. Those that I'm working on right there, those will be pushed back in the midground. And then those on the left back there, you're barely going to see those. Those will be way back in the background, and the more you come this way, the darker that those things will get. And if you watch, there's nothing complicated about this. See, I just put some paint on, and now then I'm just smearing some light colors around, and you don't have to be so precise on these things. Especially on an image like this, where it's just a quick little 30-minute, 45-minute painting. I've got less than an hour in this thing, and it's just so fun. I've painted before. I've painted 4 or 5 pictures similar to these, just just having fun. It's just so much fun. I just love doing it. And what is interesting to me is when I'm painting, I don't realize uh, I don't realize what I actually what I'm doing. But when I go back and watch my videos, I can see the simplicity of it. And but when I'm painting, I don't recognize that. That doesn't come to mind. But when I watch my own videos of these things, it's just very simple. All you're seeing is just I'm just smudging paint on, and it just it in strategic points, and there's nothing miracle about it. It's just putting some paint on. See, just smearing some colors on. You got lights and darks and lights and darks, and then and that's the way you build these. That's the way you build your composition. Is this contrast between lights and darks, and as you see what I'm doing right, what I've done, it just smudges the paint. There's nothing. There's really not anything complicated about it. And here's one of the most important things uh, of doing landscape is observation. Uh, observation, observing your surroundings. Okay, you look at a mountain. Okay, how's that thing constructed? How what the high points, the dark points, the light points. And these are the things I look at. I look at a tree, and the wife and I, we can be driving down the road, and I'll, golly, did you see how beautiful that tree is? And she looks at me like I'm crazy. What are you talking about? But these are, I don't know. I'm just observant in those things and how things are constructed, and and I can photograph these things in my mind. I could paint this picture right here without even looking at the photo because I remember what it looked like. And I've done that before. I've painted pictures before without even looking at the photograph, and then come back and look at the photograph, and it's just almost identical to the photograph because when I'm looking at these things, I look at how they are constructed in all the points, the high points, the low points, the brights, the darks, and I study it. It's just so much fun. And my wife thinks I'm crazy sometimes, and I guess she's right a lot of times. and but that's the way my mind works. I've got this. I've got this thing about construction. I look at how things are constructed. I can be driving down the road, and I don't see just a field of corn. I look at how that field of corn is constructed. How does it get that depth, and how does it get that perspective, and how would I put that on a canvas? And that's the way I view just about everything. And then on this painting right here, what you see, I'm getting some water in, and the lake was relatively calm. It wasn't mirror-like, but there was some ripples across the water. But we were so far away from it, you could not just. I mean, we were a good distance away from these mountains and this lake, but there was no really distinct ripples on the water. It was just I don't know how to explain it. Just lines of light and darks across the top of that water. And at the end of this, you'll see what I'm talking about when I get to putting the details in the water. And I'll darken the sky, and I'll darken the water. The sky at this point is too light, but that's the purpose of the underpainting. Get some paint on there, and then work on it from there, and look at it and what works and what doesn't work. And there was a few glaciers in those mountains out there, and you can see them. And it was just so pretty. And this was in the fall. This was late. This was mid-October in 2015. 2015 is when we were up in there 10 years ago. And it was, like I say, it was a gray day, but the aspens were really, really beautiful. They were bright yellows, but this gray day didn't show those aspens to be bright. They were kind of muted because of it was kind of foggy, and you'll see in a little bit. I'll add all that fog in there. If you'll notice my right hand there, how red it looks. I don't know why that lighting that I've got makes my hand look like that. It's not that red. But you can see how swollen my old knuckles and stuff are. It's arthritis, and I've got arthritis real bad. And if you'll notice, I'll have to support my right hand with my left hand because of the shoulder. Arthritis in my right shoulder. I have to have help holding that up because it hurts. So here I'm beginning to get some atmosphere back in all. It's a real dry brush. Very little paint on this brush, and it's a scrubber. And there's so little paint on it, and I have a white. These are acrylics, and there's a white. It's called transparent white, which is equal to with oil paints. It's equal to that Cremex white in oil paints. It's a transparent white, and it's not like the titanium that is opaque, and these are real bright, like those glaciers up there that I painted. A real bright white. So I'm darkening up the sky some, and what that's going to do is darken up that sky, and then I'll darken up that water some to match the sky. And then, as I said, there wasn't hardly any visible ripples on the lake. It wasn't a mirror reflection from the mountains on it. It was just kind of streaks across the top of the water, the lights and darks, and it was just beautiful. And I'll try to capture that here in just a moment. Of how that those reflections on that water were. And here I've got some blue, a little bit of cerulean blue. Gives a really nice atmospheric impression. And like I say, now the brush that I'm using right here is a bristle brush. This is a brush I use for oil painting, but I've got very little paint. It's got that transparent white on it, and they're just very, very little paint and just scrubbing around here and there to soften the edges on some of these. And then the more that I apply that, the further back those mountains get there on the left in that background. And then here I'm going to try and capture some of those ripples on the lake and get a sheen on the water. So it and we've all seen lakes that that look like this, and it's kind of hard to get it to look right, or it is for me. But like I say, I didn't spend a lot of time on this because this is basically this was a tutorial on how to use glazing to get atmosphere in your painting and get depth in your painting. And you can see how I put that glazing in between those mountains where it would separate those mountains. And then I just keep adding a little more as we go, and it just puts more depth into the painting as I go here. And then here I'm putting a little bit of sheen in the water, and it's just vertical. And again, this is that transparent white, and there's very little paint on the brush, and it gives a effect of reflections. It's really simple thing. It's just a very simple thing, and but it does have an effect of reflections. And this is what makes painting so much fun. Is just experimenting and doing. But you can see how these simple marks will, and they're not that pronounced. It's the camera picks up that white really more than it is in real life. But okay, guys, I love y'all. This is the end of it. Hey, y'all subscribe and go to Gary Max Studio.com and look at some of these pictures that I've got. I've got nearly all of these pictures that I've painted on YouTube. Is in fact, this is a brand new site, and I'm not through with it, and I'm still adding to it, and haven't got all the details in it yet. But hey, y'all come and visit and look at them, and you can purchase on there, and you can order prints on there. So look it up and give me a shout out, and I love you guys, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye bye.